prove spirituality and how, if that would be the case? Well, I think the short answer is, unfortunately, depending on how you view it, is no. I don't think science can prove spirituality, and yeah, it's a really complex and deep topic. But did I say that? But to contextualize it a bit, I would say that what we mean with science, of course, has to be defined, and what we mean with spirituality has to be defined, and what would proving necessarily mean. I think in many ways it would mean that we prove something that is sort of supernatural, paranormal, or so, in some ways. And there have been, a lot of studies done, of course, that sort of proves paranormal phenomena. But this is the thing, it's sort of how do you say? It's sort of the worldview, in that the worldview, the materialistic worldview, that is, in that worldview, the only things that exists is material stuff, basically. So it is really hard to prove anything else. Not just because it has been, of course, hard to prove paranormal stuff. It is. So it's if it would be a simple task to prove, it was. I mean, it would have been done. There are, of course, many people that are suggesting or saying, and they may be right, they may not be right. I don't really know, but that it has been proven. We can use statistics to people try to influence, let's say, random number generators with intent, which shouldn't be able to do that, of course, because random should be random, but they are able to influence them, as far as I understand, to some degree. So it's it goes beyond randomness or chance, or that they are able to influence these random number generators, not by a large amount, but just a fraction. Still, it is unexplainable. It shouldn't be possible. As far as I know, that has been done. It has also been done some studies. People who do remote viewing, and they draw things that they see in their mind that are somewhere else. And some people are, like, quote, good at it, and they go way beyond, as far as I know, statistics in what is statistically possible to do. I mean, it's really hard to sort of draw something that it's similar in many ways to something else, like say it's a circle and a square, or I don't know, some things, a horse, whatnot, because you can draw thousands and millions different things. So if you draw something that is really similar to something that you haven't been able to see, that is that is interesting. And there are some people, as far as I know, that have proved this. And I think even the people who are against the the paranormal, or against, they basically saying that they don't believe in it, even they admit that it's just looking at the statistics, it is true that this is far beyond, again, randomness, far beyond coincidence. Yet they wouldn't explain us. They still try to find different types of explanation. This is a thing that has happened with UFOs, for example, or UAPs, as they call now, unidentified aerial phenomena. It's basically the same thing, that we have people who see these things, or speak about them, or say that they are real, and then there are debunkers, that say that they are weather balloons, or lights in the air, and whatever. These two different sides that can't agree. and they yeah, agree to disagree basically. And it's just been going on for so many years, and it's the same thing in different domains with regards to paranormal phenomena. And it is this worldview. So some have the worldview of paranormal stuff being real. Probably not that everything is real, but it is real. Some things are happening. I mean, UAPs or unidentified flying objects, for that matter, wouldn't be paranormal. Maybe they would just be. I mean, they would be physical or could be physical. Yet it's the same because people with many people at least with a materialistic worldview also tend not to believe in UFOs or UAPs. So we have the same sort of divide there. And it seems to me almost impossible to bridge the gap there. Many people have tried, back in the days, like Jung, for example. Carl Gustav Jung, the famous psychologist, tried to bridge that gap. He believed in, he was interested in Eastern religions and also Western science, of course, which he came from. And he tried to bridge the gap. We have more modern people like Ken Wilber, for example, that I'm sort of pretty familiar with. He wrote the book The Marriage of Sense and Soul, I think, in which he also tries to bridge the gaps, the gap between the materialistic worldview and that sort of science that springs from it, and what all the religious traditions speak about and have been speaking about for centuries and millennia. Even I mean, most cultures have religion. Most cultures believe in paranormal stuff. It's a pretty recent phenomena to believe that everything is just material or materia, that nothing else exists. Yet, I mean, it's not. That's not to say that it's not true. It's just a recent phenomena, um, and the worldview that comes with that is also new. One way that has been tried to prove it, sort of prove it, is to look at brain waves, of course, or look at the brain. It's to me, it goes back to basically consciousness. What is consciousness? That is called the hard question, the hard problem. We can't. I mean, some people like Daniel Dennett, the late Daniel Dennett. He wrote a book called sort of Explaining Consciousness. I don't know if that was the actual title, but something like Explaining Consciousness. And he explains it just like most people believe, I believe, who have a materialistic worldview. That is that consciousness is sort of an epiphenomena of the brain activity. So we have definitely correlates with brain activity and subjective experiences. But then there's this the hard problem that philosophers ask themselves, and some scientists and researchers too. Why do we even have consciousness? Why do we have conscious experiences? Why do we have this thing called qualia? Why are we aware? Why are we conscious? And how does that or consciousness emerge? Where is it? And it's very interesting because it's our basic experience, of course. It's the most natural thing to anyone. Consciousness, being aware, it is the most fundamental thing that we have as human beings. It is the only thing that never changes, basically. Yet we can't find it. I mean, some would say that, yeah, that's a silly question. It's just we can't find any subjective experience, and that's true. Yet it is kind of interesting, I think, and that's why it is called the hard problem, and that's why a lot of philosophers have had that question throughout the ages. We have the German idealists and we have solipsism, who maintains that sort of the opposite of materialism, in that they're saying basically that everything that's real is our own subjective experience. There is really nothing outside of our experience. Even other people aren't really, quote, real. They are just in our experience. We don't know if they also have consciousness, because we don't see consciousness, we don't see their experiences, and even if we were able to, it would still be just our own experience. We cannot step out of our own experience. That is, of course, what science is trying to do, taking a third-person perspective and look at things. We look at it through a periscope or a microscope or some other tool. We measure it with different instruments. We see how tall it is, how much it weighs, and we have this objective data in that is objective. It weighs this much, it's this high, and yeah, those are all what we call objective facts in the third person, and other persons can verify it. And yeah, that's basically, in some ways, we could call that science, or at least objective reality, which is where most science is, proven. Is it objectively real? Yet again, our own experience isn't in the objective world. So we have this huge divide between objective reality on the one hand and our subjective experience on the other hand. And then we have the spiritual term called non-duality, which says that it is one thing. There's only one thing, which we cannot even really understand. That is what the traditions say anyways, the mystical traditions in their respective religions. And yeah, like Zen Buddhism or Advaita Vedanta, or you name it, Kabbala, all of them, Christian mysticism, Sufism, all of them speak about this sort of that true nature of reality, which is non-dual, which goes beyond subject and object, the objective reality and the subjective experience. They say that everything is one thing, basically, or it is not two. And that is something that we also can experience. We cannot find that truth either. So the spiritual truths that the mystical traditions speak about aren't found in the objective reality, are only found in our subjective experience. So they cannot be verified by objective data. I think Ken Wilber makes the claim that that is true for some other things too. Like, I think he uses the examples of logic and mathematics. Of course, a lot of mathematics. Is it also Gödel's theorem? I don't remember. Anyway, that we cannot prove a lot of mathematics. We can't prove it, and we can't prove a lot of logics either. It's just basically it's only happening in our mind. It's only a thing of our mind in our interior world, our own subjective experience. Yet we think of it as true, that it's real in a maybe not objective sense, but still real. We say that the mathematics is real, even though we can't find it in the objective world. We can use it though, and that's part of what I think people believe, that it makes it real. But yeah, even though if it's if it's to be really real, like string theory, that is one of the main oppositions against string theory, is that it sort of works mathematically, but in actuality, we cannot. It makes some hypotheses about things that we cannot really find. We can't find those objective facts in the world, so to speak, or we don't have any way of proving it, or so it's just theory in a way. Even though the math sort of seems to work in some ways, at least as I understand it. Anyway, we have this divide, the objective world and the subjective world, and there doesn't seem a way to really merge them, or there isn't a way to, because it comes down, I think, to belief in a way, or yeah, and the belief is based on direct experience in many ways. So some people, they believe that there is only the material world and nothing else, which is really, that was what I believed, and I mean, I would say even today, I wouldn't really be able to know for sure. That is the age-old question, of course. What happens when we die? And people who have near-death experiences, they tend to come back and say, yeah, there is no death. You just go to some other place, and now they aren't afraid of death because they see what happens when you die. Still, they have come back, though. We haven't been able to speak to people who have died and not come back because they're not here. So from a materialistic point of view, you can explain away those experiences very easily. You just say that it's just sort of brain activity. Something happens like a psychedelic experience. It's the way of the brain to, make people calm, relaxed, and not have any fear for dying. It's good for the sort of biological organism, but it doesn't prove that there's an afterlife or something else. And it doesn't. It doesn't prove that. It's just a data point, just as there are other data points with religions speaking about similar things. And I think also a claim that Ken Wilber makes is that to the degree that we accept subjective experiences as proof of something, and he again makes the claim that we accept logic and some mathematics in that way or in that light, and we say that it's real. He maintains that if we believe in subjective experiences, that they can be proof of something, even though we can't find it in the objective physical reality, then phenomenology can be used. It can be used to gain insights about the nature of reality, and the way of getting at that insight is through meditation. That is what he calls injunction or paradigm or experiment, even if we want to use the scientific method here. So the scientific method is usually to gain information about something. You do something and you look at the information and you can replicate that thing, and you have peers that you can sort of confirm or disconfirm your findings with. And that's very brief, but you do something, you get information, and you look at it. You look again through a periscope or a microscope. You ask people. You can even do studies of people's subjective experiences. You give them a questionnaire, and whatever. Wilber maintains that we can do the same thing with meditation if we allow phenomenology to be a part of a way of proving things. Basically, if we believe in subjective experiences, that they have any validity at all. Which, if you're a materialist or have a materialistic worldview, I don't think that would be. That's the thing, these logical arguments, the idealists, people who are writing about these things for hundreds of years, it doesn't make any difference. It's more about belief in my world. we can't prove worldviews basically. And yeah, and if you have, if you're, yeah, it's really hard. This is a really difficult topic. So anyway, what the people who have been meditating a lot say is often similar to people who have had these near-death experiences or even psychedelic experiences. They say that uh, the mind basically, or that consciousness basically probably isn't necessarily 100% tied to the brain. So in the case of the death of the brain or the body, consciousness would still be there. And this is, of course, impossible from a materialistic worldview. It is consciousness is derived out of comes is the brain is necessary for consciousness. And again, it's obviously related to it. If you change things in the brain, you get different subjective experiences. I think this Ibn Alexander made this. What was it? Yeah, he had this near-death experience, and he's a doctor or something, neuropsychiatry. I don't know, something like that. And he maintains that his brain was dead, basically. There was no activity at all. Yet he still had these experiences, which I think is an interesting thing. But I think it was Sam Harris, who is sort of into spirituality, but from a he's also an atheist, I think, at least, as far as I know, but is into spirituality and those kinds of experiences. But he maintains, which I think is a logical argument too, that those experiences that Ibn Alexander had could have come, as soon as he woke up, because or right before he went into a coma or whatever. He had I think he went into a coma or something, and he was in that for I don't know, say hours, days, doesn't really matter. The thing is that time doesn't really matter, I think, at least in these types of experiences. It can go really fast or feel like really fast, or it can feel like, for maybe he felt like he spent an eternity in this place. But people say the same things with taking psychedelics. They a whole eternity went by, or yeah, whatever. So the fact that the brain was shut down for a moment, yeah, if he had those experiences that he speaks about during that time that his brain was off, that really shows something special. We also have these people, seeing the doctors and those kinds of doing things with them, and later are able to say what they have been saying and what they've been doing, even though they were under, sedated or brain shut down or whatever it is, which also should be impossible. Yet these things doesn't seem to be able to sway it for almost anyone, except again those that have those exact experiences. Even doctors that are atheists, which most are, when they go through an experience like that, a near-death experience, they often come back and say that they aren't atheists anymore. They believe in an afterlife. They believe in these spiritual things, which is interesting, because I think that's again what it comes back to, the fact that it's based on actual experience. So to get back to Wilber's claim that we can use this sort of scientific method and do meditation, do the experience called meditation, and see if it becomes true for us what mystical traditions have been speaking about for hundreds and thousands of years, that there is a ground of being, or there is our big self, or the true self, or nirvana, or whatever, the peace that passeth understanding, whatever you want to call it. And if that is true, it is obviously a real experience. I think that's most, I think you would have a real trouble not believing in it. I think it was even Jordan Peterson or someone who said that, this, I don't think he used the word satori, but which is awakening in the Zen tradition, but enlightenment maybe, or awakening, that is a real experience that many people have. And it's reproducible because people in these traditions repeatedly have it. Not everyone, but it is not uncommon. It is the goal from in Zen Buddhism, for example. The goal is to have this awakening or enlightenment, satori or kensho, whatever you want to call it, and wake up and have this wake up beyond the mind, wake up beyond thinking, wake up beyond even the question, about non-duality, objective, subjective truth. And then when you have that sort of awakening, like Wilber says, that is the meditation experiment. And then afterwards, you're able to say, is this true? Like, is this just mind stuff? Is this just, an experience like sort of any other that is still just an epiphenomenon of my brain, and the materialistic worldview is still true, Or did it change your view of the world, your worldview? Do you now believe that there is something else to reality than just the material stuff? And it's good enough for a lot of people, and there are a lot of explicit atheists like Ricky Gervais, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, who at least claim to be living, lives that they are grateful for. And I mean, there are tons of people who are atheists, of course, and they live happy lives. And there are a lot of people who believe in all kinds of things that are unhappy. So I don't know if there's any correlations there, but that is the experience to do. And to my mind, there's no proof really. There is no way of for science to prove spirituality, and there probably never will be. I think it has, yeah, it will more just be worldviews again. Like before, everybody believed in it. Everybody believed in spirituality. You were taught to believe it, and now you're taught not to believe it, at least or not taught not to believe in it. But I mean, that's a logical way or rational way of looking at the world. I think that's how I was brought up in a Western country, at least. You understand that, yeah, you have a brain, you have these bodies, and if you want to prove something, yeah, you do it by objective measurements, basically. And if you want to say that there is a God, show me, if you believe that there is an afterlife, prove it. If you believe that there are angels, different dimensions, UFOs, whatever, prove it. And it's been hard to prove. Whatever your, whatever you are on the spectrum, I think most of us would admit that it has been hard to prove these things. And the reason why is because of how the world works, I think. It could also be that the materialistic worldview is true. That the reason why we haven't been able to prove sort of spirituality is because it's just like the materialists, if I can, or atheists say, that it's just something that occurs in our minds. We believe in it, and like placebo effect, and whatever you want to think it is. But it's not real. It's not. It isn't really in the objective reality. It's just things in our own minds. If it's angels, or if it's God, or if it's the afterlife, or whatever, just everything is just things happening in our brain, basically, or and hence our minds. But the only thing that actually is real is the material stuff around us, the brain and our body and the world. Those things are real, and nothing else is real. Yeah, it could be like that. And to me, again, I like the Zen tradition, which I'm steeped in. I mean, there are a lot of Zen Buddhists, of course, and many say that they believe in the afterlife, and there are, yeah, that that reincarnation is a part of the Buddhist philosophy, if you will, for sure. But there's also this sort of agnostic view of it, which I enjoy, because it is based on actual direct experience. I think if you go by actual direct experience, you couldn't say for sure that there is an afterlife. You couldn't say for sure that either that mind or consciousness is an epiphenomenon, difficult word, of the brain, or if it's independent of it. How could you know that for sure? I think it's really hard to know for sure. I think, though, that everything are just beliefs, basically, and yeah, we won't know until we die, or we can be, of course, we can have insights into it. That's with the meditation experiment, and we see that people who have these experiences, in either from psychedelics or from meditation or other types of experiences, coma, they tend to say that consciousness is independent of the biological body, and they believe that is the case, and they're obviously, yeah, true at heart. They really believe in it, and but yeah, and that's because they had that experience, that it correlates correlates highly with that. Still, they can't prove it, of course. We can only make these arguments that are more or less logical, more or less rational, and we never. It's like an endless talking point. Again, people have been arguing about this since forever, and yeah, it seems like one of those. I remember Steven Pinker, the Harvard psychologist, saying that there seems to be some problems for the human, yeah, with the for our humans, that we just cannot solve. Basically, we can't solve the the problem with consciousness. Basically, the hard problem. We're just not able to step out of our own consciousness, for example. So that is a big hurdle to overcome. And there have been a lot of smart people thinking about this for hundreds of years, and it hasn't been settled. I guess some people say that it has been settled in both camps, but in reality, it is neither proven nor disproven, I think, to my mind. And yeah, I think that's everything I had on the subject. It's really complex. It's really hard to grasp, and I think for me, what I like mostly is what I said, like with the Zen tradition, with a focus on direct experience and going beyond thinking, in a way, even going beyond beliefs, and see what it is that they are talking about in those traditions, going beyond. through through meditation or whatever means you have you have at disposal. Just going for it and see for yourself, investigate, do the experiment, get the information, get the experience, and see what, and make up your own mind. What is true for you? What do you believe in or not believe in? I don't think this. I imagine this won't be settled for another 100 years. So don't hold out for it. Go see for yourself and make up your own mind, or stay agnostic. Do whatever you want, of course. Okay, those were my 2 cents. Thank you.